Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, This Green's Life. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I want to thank everybody that has been liking, sharing, and commenting on my videos and also subscribing to my channel. I appreciate it. My channel is growing slowly but surely, but it's growing organically. So I feel good about it. And even if people are not subscribing or, whatever, if they're just viewing and they find some value in what I'm saying and it's helping them to think differently and to start to figure out ways that they can improve their lives, then my job is done, right? That's the main idea here. I'm not planning on making YouTube my career. I'm just sharing my thoughts and just hoping that, again, it gives people an opportunity to really think about their lives, because day by day, we're just getting older, guys. Day by day, life is going on. And, just the other day, you were 18, you were 20, you were 30. Time is just going by. And as you can see every day, it's just going by quicker and quicker. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like time is just flying. Imagine we're already in April, right? So, I mean, so what does that mean? Another year is going by, and some people are still at a crossroads. They're still trying to figure it out. But, figuring out obviously is a part of the process, but the execution, that's the most important part, right? Actually gathering all of your information, making sure that everything is good, and then actually executing your plan. So, what if your plan, has been carefully thought about? Uh, you want to execute it, but guess what? You have a family. You're either married or you have children. What do you do? Right? You want to relocate, but you have a family. So, I mean, obviously, if you're married, if you have children, you have to take them into consideration. But I think what I want to talk about today is two things. What happens if you're married and you want to relocate and your partner doesn't? What do you do then? That's a tricky conversation, right? I'm single. So I don't have to, consult with anybody about anything that I do. I just do what I want to do. And that's just what I've chosen for myself. I'm not bashing anybody who's in a relationship or whatever. If your relationship is beautiful, that's lovely. I myself have chosen to be single because I like my freedom, right? To do what I want to do, go where I want to go, and not have to consult with anyone. But I do see quite a few couples that are online that are, traveling together and having this life adventure together. And I think that is beautiful. So that is something to consider because, when they talk about being equally yoked, this is when those, conversations need to happen, right? The thought of, am I equally yoked with the person that I'm with? Because I've come to a point in my life where I want to do this and they're not on board. And I've seen situations happen in my own family where I had a relative who really wanted to retire in Grenada and their spouse did not want to. And I think that was always like a point of contention. It's like, I got to think about the fact that I'm married and I can't just walk away from my marriage because of something that I want to do. But at the same time, I'm not happy, but I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to use it. I'm almost sacrificing my happiness for the goodness of this marriage, right? I want to keep this marriage or partnership together. Again, I'm not going to get in the middle of anybody's relationship. But what I will say is that it's important, because this is your life, for you to choose what's going to make you happy. So that's a serious conversation that you need to have with yourself about how you're going to move forward. I've even seen one person on YouTube who's married, and this person relocated and they're still married, and the spouse was not interested in moving, so they kind of have like a long distance relationship. I haven't checked in with this YouTuber in a while, but the last that I saw, they kind of travel back and forth, because this person felt like this is something that they really needed to do for themselves. And, since the spouse was not interested at the time to relocate, they just went ahead and did it because they had to do it for themselves. So, I mean, it all depends on your situation. Second, what if you have children? So either you're married or married with children, or you're raising children on your own, and you have made a decision that you would like to relocate, but you have children. So obviously, that's a lot to consider too, right? If you have children, because depending on their ages, you have to really think about, how is this going to work? The place that I want to go to, if my children are still in school, will I be able to relocate, put them in school? What's the requirements in terms of residency, things of that nature? You need to consider that, you know, because you're coming as a full package. Then you may have children who are like in their older years. And when I say that, like maybe upper teens, where they're in high school, they're getting ready to graduate from high school. What do you do? And you're burnt out, you want to relocate. What do you do then? So that's a whole other piece that you have to think about. Are they going to come with you? Are they going to stay wherever you are living right now? If they decide to stay, who are they going to live with? Things of that nature. So when you have a family, there is a lot to consider. I have two children, um, and they have a 13-year age gap. So, for those of you who have been following me, I moved to Grenada in 2022. And at the time, my daughter just graduated, like she graduated from high school in 2022 in June. And by August, I was in Grenada. And she made the decision to come with me. Um, because, and this is my fault, but again, I was not thinking about living here. But when I came here, I decided to get my citizenship, which I did. But because she's over 18, I was not able to get citizenship for her as well. So she has to go a different route to get permanent residency. But she has been here with me since 2022. And since she's been here, she does work even though she's not a permanent resident. And the reason why is because the company that she works for is an American company. So she doesn't need a work permit or anything because she is working for an American company. Now, I'm getting a lot of pushback from some family members, not in my immediate family, like my children. I guess they figure she's down here. What is there really for her here? She should be in college. um what is she doing here, which is not their concern. But again, the conditioning, right? Now, don't get me wrong, because I have two college degrees. My older daughter has two college degrees. She and I are both teachers, right? We have both stepped away from that profession because it's a crazy profession. We still work. I continued my work as a teacher. I work remotely, and she's in a different industry now. But my youngest daughter, she's still trying to figure her life out. And I encouraged her to come here because I wanted her to have that opportunity to figure her life out. Because how can I be preaching life of ease, you know, thinking outside of the box, creating your own life, and then push her down this same road that I just left? And sometimes I'm not going to lie, I'm on the fence because I'm saying to myself, like, I want her to go to school so she could have more opportunities. But then we live in a climate where a lot of young people are creating their own opportunities without having to go to school. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But I said this already. It's like when you're going these routes, you're pretty much just buying into that whole system. Because what is it now? Like you're going to just go to school, maybe have to put yourself in some debt to go and get a degree and end up going and work, for someone, and then it's the hamster wheel. And I really am trying my best to encourage my children to have a different way of life. So I'm on the fence with it. But what I'm doing is, as a parent, I'm allowing her to figure out what she wants to do. She knows how I feel about that whole situation, but I don't try to discourage her in any way. If she, because she has the freedom, she has a US passport, she can go wherever she wants to go. In addition, before we left, I made sure to get her TEFL certified too. So she has a TEFL certification. And for those of you who are not aware of what that is, she can teach English to people who do not speak English, right? So she has a certification in that. So she may need to get at least an associate's degree to just back that up. So if she wants to work in certain countries and obtain certain jobs, she may need to have a college degree in addition to that. But long story short, I'm allowing her to make that decision. I'm not going to push her into anything. She has the ability to make up her mind. Again, she's not trapped here. She has a US passport. It's valid. She can go wherever she wants to go. But I really didn't want her to go the same route because I feel as if she is a part of a generation that can do things a little bit differently than generations in the past, right? So I'm allowing her that breathing room. As I mentioned, she does work. And I want her to have that experience too, because maybe that will give her the motivation to figure out, well, maybe I need to do something different. But she has a lot of options, right? I didn't want her to pigeonhole herself where she has to just be stuck in one lane. Her having this experience living in Grenada, we're going to go on our 3-year anniversary in August of this year. Her having the experience living in another country, having the experience of working, because her coming to Grenada, this is the first time that she's actually working, right? Because all of her life she was pretty much going to school. She didn't work in America because I didn't feel comfortable with her working in America. To be honest with you, it was just too crazy, right? But she works here and she's learning skills, right? What kind of skills is she learning? She's learning communication skills. She's learning interpersonal skills. She's improving her computer skills, right? She's learning responsibility to have to get up every day and go to a job, right? I mean, these are skills that are invaluable. I don't want her to just be an employee. I want her to also mature in the sense that she understands responsibility. And then she can also make a decision about what she really wants to do with her life. Like, you got to let your kids have these experiences so they know, or they can make a decision about what they're going to do with their lives. You are there to guide, but you're going to allow them to experience things for themselves. So, long story short, because I know I went all around the world, I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's not impossible for you to relocate if you have a family. But you got to think about all of the other things that are involved. These are other people who have their own dreams and aspirations, right? And just because you want to move, they may not want to move. They it may not work out for them. So what do you do? Because this is something that you want to do for yourself. This is something that you probably need to do for yourself. So my advice to you is to sit down with your family members, be it your husband and your children, or you're just your children, and just be honest with them about what you would like to do. And as you're having these discussions, you're going to find out who's on board and who's not on board. And you're going to have to make some decisions. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, and I'm going to do a separate video on this, but your happiness has to be first and foremost, because if you're unhappy, like say if you decide to sacrifice your happiness for the good of the family, the good of the marriage, then what's going to happen there? Because I feel like you may end up being resentful, right? Every day you have to get up and go somewhere that you really don't want to go because you're trying to keep the family together, and you know, that might cause more stress and friction than is needed. And especially if you know in your heart of hearts that you just can't do what you're doing anymore, and you're only doing it because of X, Y, and Z. So, again, as I've mentioned before several times, planning, researching, making sure you have all your ducks in a row, all your T's crossed, your I's dotted, because it is a very life changing decision when you want to relocate, right? So all of these things have to be considered. And unfortunately there's no way to go around it. But at the end of the day, your happiness has to come first. Your well-being has to come first. And you choosing yourself is an act of self-love. And if the people around you want what's best for you, and you have laid out everything in a way where you're showing everything that supports your decision, and how either they can be included or excluded. I mean, it has to go either way. They have to, if they love you and they care about your well being, they're going to have to honor your feelings, and they have to honor what you want to do and what you feel you need to do for your life. And again, I know this is not an easy decision, but it is one that is going to have to be made. It's going to have to be addressed, because at the end of the day, this decision that you're making could end up being beneficial to everyone involved. They may not see it that way, but the only way to find out is to actually try it and do it. And then we come back and we look at it and we analyze it and see, is this the best thing for us to do? So, with that being said, any decisions carefully considered. And also, we don't just, throw everything away. Meaning, as I mentioned in one of my videos, I see people, they're selling all of their things, they're getting rid of all of their stuff, and they're just moving to other places. And then because it's not properly thought through, they have to turn around and come right back. And that's a lot. And if you have a husband or wife and you have children, that's a lot. So I'm going to leave saying that when you have a family, you really have to think things through. I want to say that all the years that I was coming from 2011, I was bringing my daughter with me. So she was coming with me every year when I was visiting here. And again, visiting and living is two different things. But again, when I told her that I wanted to live here, she had a choice as to whether or not she wanted to stay in America or she wanted to come to Grenada. And she decided to come to Grenada with me. So, and then she can always leave. I mean, she doesn't have to stay here. She's old enough that she can make a decision. And that's what I'm allowing her to do. But we did have extensive conversations about this. I told her that this is something that I know I needed to do for myself because I couldn't stay in America one more day. But because she was old enough, she could make her own decisions. And obviously, it's not the end of the world, meaning even if you decide to go for yourself, right? The door is always open either way, right? If you go and you decide it's not for you, you can always come back home. They know that if you go and they choose not to come with you at the time, they still have the option. There's a lot of freedom there. And that has to be a part of the conversation. Like, this is not the end of the world. Like, we're going to try this thing. And if it doesn't work, then we will come back and we will regroup. But I want to leave and say that your family, your children should not be the reason why you are not doing something. It's going to be rough, it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard. There's going to be some complications. But if you know in your heart of hearts that this is something that you feel that you need to do for yourself, you need to do it. And that's it.